What is up, YouTube? Look what's gone. No more Honda. Still got a couple of the parts here, but gaskets and everything else for that bike are over here in this box. It's out of here. It is not done at all. I will still be working on that, but moved it to the shop because the rest of the motor is pretty much done. Just like that, Honda motor is gone, and we have my welded Harley cases back from my buddy that welded these up for me. Here's the busted up primary. If you guys kind of catch the angle here in the light, hopefully that kind of shows up. But we got a pretty good weld right across this upper section. This is the one that when I got the bike was JB welded. It was all intact and still bolted together, but this here, one little split up here, and then actually there was one on the inside of this as well, down the inner case. Did an awesome job, super thorough, went through, marked everything, labeled everything that was damaged. And then the last little bit was this section here. This looks factory now. This entire boss was gone. This whole section gone. This whole section gone. And now we have a section for the chain tensioner to bolt back in. All solid welded, good to go. Thank you again, Jesse, and whoever else helped on that project. But we're welded inside and out on the primary now, so that's excellent. Will be good. Cannot wait to start putting this back together, but that's why it's here. So tonight, or tomorrow, I don't know how long I have. Been running around all day doing errand things, but tonight or tomorrow, cases are back on the bench right now. I want to start reassembly. We're nowhere near that. I do have the new Timken bearings to press in here. I got the old race out. I did not film pressing the race out, but I have since these were blasted, I have a ton of cleanup to do. I got the new screen for the oil pump and all that other stuff. I'm going to try and film as much as I can, but I'm also racing the clock on this one, so I'm not exactly sure how detailed that'll get. The other half of this Timken bearing, still in the box with the appropriate spacer, is already pressed on the crank over there. And that's kind of where we're at. A lot of cleanup. I got to grab some new snap rings for the sprocket shaft bearing, or the left side case bearing. I need the C-clips before I press the new race in. Then the spacer and the seal. I'm hoping the seal should be in the brand new gasket kit I got for this entire motor. Just got to verify that, but ideally tonight or first thing tomorrow when I get out here is going to be prepping this case. So I will be running thread chasers through every one of the bolts all around every part of this motor. Anything that gets a bolt will get rechased. I do have one upper motor mount case bolt that I got to re-helicoil because that one is completely messed up. The other side of the case should be pretty good, but retap everything. I will run brushes and brake clean and degreaser through every one of the passages on this motor. Get all of the sand and debris out. And then we get to start putting it back together. Luckily on this one, I don't have to worry about reshimming the transmission or doing anything else because this trans was working and shifting before. Excited for that one. Like I said, if I can come back out tonight after dinner, we'll keep going on this. If not, first thing tomorrow. Dinner is not done yet, so I got more time, which means I can at least get the first part of prep on these cases done, which involves going through and re-chasing every bolt hole on this motor. Like I said, from blasting to coating and just disassembly and age, I like chasing every thread, especially on the motor stuff, regardless whether it's blasted or not, but especially after blasting and coating. I know, having my own powder coating shop, I've masked off everything that I need to worry about, but there's also a bunch of detail stuff. So if you are sending parts out to get coated, which most of you will be, or if you are getting stuff sandblasted and cleaned up for you, it will get blasted. Don't hold the powder coater accountable for blasting your parts or blasting things that you didn't specify need to, one, be masked off, two, and this is, for me, it's second nature, it's common sense because the helpers out here are not helping today. They're just making a gigantic mess over there, but whatever. We got Harley stuff to worry about. Don't blame the coater or the sandblaster if you don't specifically tell them what you want masked off or coated. I'm on both sides of that. I've had other stuff powder coated before I had my shop. I'm going on, I think this is year 13. I've been on both ends of that. I've had customers not tell me things and I've messed up made a million mistakes. It happens. But how you deal with it or how you move forward. The other part is, don't drop something off for blasting coating and expect it to come back immediately ready to put back together. Some shops will go through and clean up and degrease and clean all the parts after. Some don't. You know, you never know what you're going to get unless you talk to the people working there. Ask them a million questions. It's better in the long run for everybody. As long as everybody knows what to expect or what the expectations are, everybody will be fine. Get along all right. In this case, since I did blast these, I didn't plug all the holes or do any detail work. I know what can get blasted and I know what should not get blasted. In this case, I blasted all of the gasket stuff off, but I also know that when it gets powder coated, even though everything was taped and masked, I have these little, hopefully this shows up on camera, right around the welds, but we have a little bit of powder residue still on the motor. Some of that's tape residue, just the glue, some of it's powder buildup from the curing process. I will run a file around every one of these edges, clean all of this up so it's a fresh, clean mating surface. Same thing on the inside of the case. I will do that as well, just to clean up and double check for any burrs or deep gouges. Essentially, look over every single little minute detail of these cases before I put this motor back together, because one little scratch or one little gouge in the aluminum, especially on the primary side or on the case halves, if there was one nick or a gouge like right through here, I'll hit it with some JB Weld and fill that and smooth it and then sand it just to try and prevent some more leaks. Do I think that this is going to be a leak-free bike? Absolutely not. If I did want it to be closer to that, then deck all of the faces, but that costs a ton of money that I don't have, so I'm going to throw you guys on the tripod. This is not going to be the most exciting video in the world. It will be time-lapsed, but I'll go through and re-chase all the threads on this and show you how I prep a case for reassembly. Part 1. Part 2 is going to be at the shop tomorrow, and I don't know if I'm going to film that, but I want to get everything re-chased, blow all the sand out with compressed air, and then tomorrow will be a, I don't know, half hour or so on the degreaser tank, just going through, washing everything thoroughly. Then we can start the fun process of reassembly. We got the motors laid out, both case halves. This is a Cornwell one. Everybody makes them. But this has been one of my favorite tool purchases in the last year and a half. I used to run a tap through all of these or go over to my buddy's shop that had one of these and use those. In this case, doing all the car stuff and the bike stuff and whatever else it may be, this has been the most beneficial, probably hands down one of the most second cylinder hones that I replace all the time. I don't know, I bought a lot of tools in the last year, but this especially, phenomenal for work like this. If I was cleaner, I would have put all my metric stuff away since the Honda motor's gone, but here's the cases. Here are all of the, here's all your standards. So I know that all of these, sorry, here are all the metrics. I got those backwards, so that was embarrassing. Here's our standards on the left side. All of the main bolts here are 1/4 on the primary, so 1/4. The difference between this and taps, taps will cut new threads. This will chase the threads that are currently there. So technically you should go by hand on these. I'm lazy, so we're going to use just a ratchet. I'm not going to drive this in like crazy, but we're going to work this all the way down until it bottoms out with an electric ratchet on slow speed and drive it all the way back up. And right there you can see a little bit of particulate residue, plus the tap is covered now in crap. All of those are in the threads. When I go to put this back together, I want to know that every single bolt is going to thread right into where it should. First thing you're going to want to do is walk over to your fridge or your cooler and grab a beer, because we're going to be here for quite a while. Can of brake clean is good to keep handy. Clean this out after every one. This one has been re-welded, so definitely an important one to run this through. That is going to be it for my talking part until I get all the primary stuff done. If there's anything else that comes up, I'll interrupt and start talking. But other than that, let's do some time lapse. Okay, well, actually, this is a perfect example. This one rechased it, and it pulled at the bottom, which means this needs a helicoil in the oil pump. So now I know, grab a Sharpie, which conveniently I have right here, and circle that, because I know that one needs a helicoil. There's a couple more that I know for a fact are kind of goofy, but on the oil pump, all of these were good. that one, the threads are just worn out. It still threads in and grabs okay, but not enough for me to be comfortable slapping that and putting it back together. Now, same type of deal here. Since this kit comes with both sides, we're going to do these two. Same type of deal. I think that should be about it for the 1/4-20. If I find some more, we'll address that in a bit. Pulled the stud. So that's kind of a twofer. You don't really want that to happen at all. But I also have a helicoil in here. So we're going to address that one in a little bit. No, I got to address that now. Bummer. Went too far, pulled the stud. Okay, so this is the wrong way to do it. I don't like chucking things up on the threads ever. But this should not be on here that tight. And I'll re-chase this. Just enough to break that free. Like I said, don't do that. It's really bad on the threads. It leaves that nice little marred edge. Not the right way to do that, but this is the fastest way I could come up with for this. This has also been hacked off at some point. So now we get to go back to the case, and I get to figure out the coarse thread version. Should be 3/8, which it is. Now let's re-tap this, get this prepped, and then we'll re-Loctite and helicoil this one back in later on. There we go. That's good now. And then we'll go back to the 9/16 on this. Chase the other half of the head. And the case studs. Let's put you guys back up on top. cases are brake cleaned-ish. You can see all the residue from silicone and sand and all the other crap that came out from blasting. All the threads are rechased, so we will start with one case at a time. I'll turn you guys around a little bit. Hopefully this view works. Now, at this juncture, again, this is all going to my shop tomorrow into the degrease tank, and I'll sit there running degreaser through all of the passages and all of the oil holes. But at this point, now that everything's coated, and be careful with your brake clean. I'm not plugging O'Reilly's by any means, but I use this on everything. Powder coated parts, engine cases, heads. I've never had an issue with that pulling any of my powders. I have in the past, and I don't remember the name of the brands, otherwise I would tell you what to stay away from if you're getting parts powder coated. But on the brake clean, that one works really well. It doesn't really stain or mar or etch the finish on the powder. If it's fully cured, it shouldn't regardless, unless you get a couple other ones that have other chemicals in them. I don't know which one's which. The O'Reilly's one is non-chlorinated. I don't know if the chlorinated version affects that at all. Again, I'm not a super big expert. I know I tell all of my customers, if they are asking about cleanup stuff, I like using powder on cases for that reason, that the powder tends to hold up a lot better than some of the other stuff that I've used in the past. I've never had a set of painted cases hold up well over extended periods of time. In this case, the powder works really well. So let me grab a file. I don't know where I put it. I used it the other day and I don't remember where I put it because I did not put my stuff away, per usual for me. So let me find a file and then we'll be right back. Found it. I had a towel over this. But now, the case is freshly blasted. I did tape and mask everything off. What happens is when you coat the powder, it'll still wrap over the tape. And when you peel the tape off, you have this little bit of an edge. So you can look right here. You see these little pieces. Even if I just run my thumb or nail over this, it starts coming up. What I always like to do, especially on cases, is I will take a big file and just kind of smooth some of these edges. If other people disagree with me, that's fine. I don't care. I'm okay with that too. Feel free to disagree. I'm just going over how I do this. The file kind of is a twofold for me. One, it's a fine file. It's a big piece. So I'm not trying to machine anything or cut any of these edges. Just make a quick pass around the edges. The other thing you can do is take a razor to these. Going through and doing this is peace of mind for me. I might actually still take a razor after this too. But especially that outer edge, I just want to take some of the sharpness off. Like I said, I know it looks way darker in terms of the finish here. This is a blasted aluminum. The powder is called blasted aluminum. Which is fine. It's pretty close in terms of an actually fresh blasted color. I would argue that blasted aluminum, I think, looks better. And I've done both. I've left raw cases. I've put together parts with coated cases and blasted cases. Chopper over here that has blasted cases. My Super Glide has raw aluminum cases. But I also did no cleanup when I rebuilt that one. By choice. Didn't want to. That was a one-owner bike before I got it. So there's a time and a place. I like crusty bikes personally. But using this current Ironhead case as a advertisement for powder coating, I gotta clean it up and make it clean and nice and pretty. This inside corner is kind of a pain in the ass, so just kind of make do here. The rest of it cuts pretty quick and clean. And then tomorrow, these will sit in the degrease tank and clean them up a little bit more thoroughly. But this is a good start. Do the same thing on the lifters here. Cutting that sharp edge off. And any of the flaky powder. So most of what's falling off here isn't actually the powder. It's really just the tape residue right on the edge. Then one more on the oil pump. Same thing. All the way across. Just trying to take the sharp edges off. And the last one, just catch this. On the mating surface for the sprocket seal. The kit that I have for the bolts is a little bit too small for these threads. I think 1/4 is the smallest I go down to on the standards. But we'll do the same thing on the other case. That's where we're going to leave this one off. Thanks for watching. We will be back tomorrow with more Ironhead pre-assembly stuff. Hit that like button or that subscribe button. We're rocking and rolling. I want to get to 1,000 so I can set up the store. I don't know how long that'll take. We're a ways off. Help me out. Tell your friends. Ironheads, Hondas, Ford stuff, I don't know. All sorts of crap. Whatever else stumbles into my life that I think is cool at that current time, I'll be recording it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys soon.